Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 7th installment of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links Best Deck series. Today, we're going to be looking at the deck Warm Worm Mill. This deck is based around making your opponent draw a ton of cards until they deck out. So just before this video starts, I'd just like to say, just like my last video, which I uploaded earlier today, this one will have no gameplay at the end of it. This is just purely to see whether or not people want the gameplay at the end. If you did prefer my videos with the gameplay at the end, leave a comment about it. If you didn't, then don't worry about it. Otherwise guys, I hope you enjoy the video and let's get right into it. Alright, the best character for this deck is Bandit Keith with the ability Switcheroo. This ability allows you to return one card in your hand to your deck and draw another. It can be used once per turn and twice per duel. This deck can honestly be played by just about anyone. It's just that Bandit Keith's ability allows you to make it more consistent, obviously, because it's a combo deck. But essentially this deck can be played with any character with any ability. It doesn't really matter that much. Alright, now let's take a look at the deck list. This deck runs 3 Warm Worm, 3 Skill and Gel, 3 Cup of Ice, 3 Regretful Rebirth, 2 Jar of Greed, and 3 Conscription. It also runs either 3 Malice Ascendants or 3 Bubonic Vermin. Now I've added a choice here because my original deck list was Malice Ascendant, but literally a day after I'd fully made this deck and started trying it out, I found a post on Reddit which was a deck nearly exactly the same as mine, except they didn't have Malice Ascendant, they had 3 Bubonic Vermin. And this guy had gotten to King of Games using this list, so I thought, oh, it must be pretty solid to have Bubonic Vermin in there. So I've decided to add the choice. Full credit to the guy who made his list. That's on Reddit. Go have a look at it if you like. He's also done a little guide on there himself for his deck. Other than that, I'm going to move on to the strategy for this deck. Alright, the strategy for this deck is using the card Warm Worm with Regretful Rebirth. This is the main strategy for this deck. Warm Worm's ability is that it will send the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard when it's destroyed. So having 3 of these in your deck alone means that's 9 cards sent to your opponent's graveyard. Then there is Regretful Rebirth. When a monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, target that monster, special summon it face up defense position, but it's destroyed during the end phase. This is very useful with Warm Worm, because when Warm Worm dies, you can bring it back, and it gets destroyed again, so that's another 3 cards. So with Regretful Rebirth and Warm Worm, you can now send 18 cards from your opponent's deck straight to their graveyard. The other side of this deck, other than the combo pieces, is obviously other milling cards, which is, the term mill is from other card games, and it pretty much means just making your opponent draw as many cards as possible to make them eventually run out of cards, which in this card game and many others means you lose the game. In this game, I believe it's called decking out when you run out of cards. So on the turn they're about to draw, if they have no cards in their deck, they instantly just lose the game. Alright, now I've gone through the strategy for the deck, let's go through the monster cards. The monster cards in this deck are Warm Worm, Skill and Gel, Malice Ascendant, or Bubonic Vermin. Warm Worm obviously is the main milling card for this deck, as it makes your opponent lose 3 cards when it is destroyed, and as there are 3 of them, that means there's a total of 9 cards can be destroyed by Warm Worm. Skill and Gel is simply to cycle through your deck and also provide a block. So because this deck's aim is not to at all destroy any of your opponent's monsters, it's important that you have blocks so that they can't get to your life points so you don't lose. And also get through your deck as fast as possible so you can get to your Wink additions, which is Warm Worm and the spell that goes with it, Regretful Rebirth. Malice Ascendant is kind of similar to Warm Worm, but not really. During your opponent's standby phase, send 1 card from the top of their deck to the graveyard for each Malice Ascendant in your graveyard. So the aim is to use Malice Ascendant as a block, so you just place it, it gets killed, goes to the graveyard. And then you can just play Malice Ascendant's face up, and it will make your opponent mill a card. It's a lot weaker than Warm Worm, but it's still fairly iffy. I'm not sure if it should be in the deck or not, which is why we've got Bubonic Vermin. Bubonic Vermin is purely in the deck for a block. Once one is killed, it draws another, plays it on the board. When that one's destroyed, you can take another one and place that one on the board. It also has the added benefit of thinning out your deck so that it's a higher chance of drawing your combo pieces. I'm not sure if this is better than having Malice Ascendant, but I'm kind of leaning more towards the Bubonic Vermin side, but either one's probably alright. Alright, let's take a look at the spells and traps. The spells and traps in this deck are Jar of Greed, Cup of Ace, Regretful Rebirth, and Conscription. Jar of Greed is the definition of cycle. It's in your deck purely till you send it out, you play it on the board, draw another card, so you just get closer and closer to the pieces you need. It's pretty much just a blank slot in the deck, because you want to make your deck as thin as possible. Cup of Ace is normally a bad card, as it allows you to draw 2 cards, but sometimes it will make your opponent draw 2 cards. But in this deck, you actually want your opponent to draw cards, so neither of the fakes are negative, making this card perfect. Obviously, Regretful Rebirth is the main combo piece with Warm Worm, as it allows you to pretty much use its ability another 3 times, meaning that's 18 cards instead of 9. It gets sent straight to the graveyard. Conscription is normally a kind of mediocre card, as it can be negative, but it also has the chance to be completely just the perfect card for this deck. It draws a card from their deck, so that's a good effect, and if it's a monster, it provides a block for you, which is also a good effect. If it's a spell or a trap, they'll get it drawn to their hand, which is bad, but at least it made them still draw a card, which is getting them closer to that deck out victory. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Please leave feedback on whether or not you want to see gameplay at the end of my videos. I know I kind of stressed this a lot in my last video at the end, which was earlier today. Other than that, thank you for watching and see ya.